There's a cold weather sleep system that costs exactly $2 and provides the same life-saving thermal retention as a $300 expedition sleeping bag. No ethically sourced goose down, no proprietary synthetic loft, no bulky compression sacks taking up half your backpack. A heat retention method so scientifically absolute that NASA engineers developed it to protect spacecraft from the freezing void of deep space. That indigenous hunters utilized in principle for 10,000 years using the forest floor. And that the modern outdoor gear industry has desperately tried to frame as a single-use emergency item, ensuring you never learn that pairing this $2 sheet with basic woodland debris completely eliminates the need for their expensive winter sleep systems. $2. 5 minutes of prep. Any forest environment, warm enough to survive freezing temperatures, prevent hypothermia, and retain your core body heat. The global sleeping bag and outdoor bedding industry generates over $1.5 billion in annual revenue. Every premium mummy bag you carry into the field is dead weight. When it gets wet and stolen money from your wallet for a product, that simple thermodynamics can replace for the cost of a cup of coffee. A man who knows how to harness radiant heat reflection and natural dead airspace never freezes, even if he loses his pack in a river. Which is exactly why no gear company selling high-margin, zero-degree sleeping bags has any interest in teaching you how to use their cheapest item to replace their most expensive one. This is the story of the metallized thermal trap, the most efficient heat retention technology in human history, the skill that kept our ancestors alive through ice ages, perfected by modern aerospace engineering, and the one critical survival tool that the modern outdoor industry made sure you would view as a disposable novelty instead of a primary shelter. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If true self-reliance matters to you, subscribe and hit the bell. This is where we open the vaults the gear industry paid to seal forever. Now let me take you back to where this all begins. The timeline stretches back to 1964. The United States space program is facing a massive thermodynamic crisis. In the vacuum of space, objects exposed to the sun boil, while objects in the shade instantly freeze. NASA engineers needed a material that was nearly weightless, but could absolutely stop the transfer of thermal radiation. They invented MPIT, metallized polyethylene terephthalate. It is a micro-thin sheet of plastic vapor-coated with actual aluminum. It weighed ounces, but it reflected up to 97% of all radiated heat. They wrapped the Apollo lunar modules in it. It protected astronauts from the most extreme temperature swings in the known universe. But jump back 10,000 years before NASA. Indigenous tribes living in the freezing boreal forests of North America did not have MPET, but they understood the exact same physics. They survived. Brutal winters not by carrying heavy blankets, but by mastering dead airspace. They built debris huts, piling 3 to 4 feet of dry leaves, pine needles, and grass over a wooden frame, and stuffing the inside with the same material. They burrowed into it. The trapped dead air blocked conductive heat loss to the frozen ground and blocked convective heat loss from the freezing wind. What happens when you combine the ancient indigenous mastery of dead airspace with the 1964 NASA mastery of radiant heat reflection? You create a sleep system that is completely waterproof, weighs less than 3 ounces, costs $2, and mimics the exact thermal R value of a $300 goose down sleeping bag. The knowledge has been available in military survival, training for decades, but no outdoor gear retailer has ever suggested you learn to use leaves in a space blanket instead of buying their premium winter gear. Let me show you exactly why a $2 sheet of metallized plastic and a pile of dry leaves is as effective as a factory sleeping bag. The mechanics of staying warm rely on stopping the 3 ways your body loses heat: conduction, convection, and radiation. When you lay on the ground, the cold earth literally sucks the heat out of your body. That is conduction. When the cold wind blows across your skin, it strips away your warmth. That is convection. And even in perfectly still air, your body constantly emits infrared heat waves into the atmosphere. That is radiation. A $300 sleeping bag fights this by wrapping you in inches of goose down. The down traps dead air, which slows down conduction and convection, but it does a terrible job at stopping radiation. And if that goose down gets wet from rain or sweat, the loft collapses. The dead air is gone. The bag becomes a useless, heavy, freezing wet sponge. The $2 system splits the job. A 10-inch pile of dry leaves or pine needles under your body provides massive amounts of dead airspace completely, stopping conductive heat loss to the ground. The $2 Mylar blanket wrapped around your body acts as a perfect infrared mirror. Instead of your body heat escaping into the night, the aluminum coating physically bounces 90% of your radiant heat directly back into your skin. It is a closed thermal loop. The leaves stop the earth from stealing your heat. The Mylar stops the air from stealing your heat. This is not a theory. It is the exact same physics protecting satellites in orbit right now. The materials differ in price. The thermodynamics are absolutely identical. The forest provides the loft. The $2 blanket provides the reflection. A commercial sleeping bag is available only if you paid for it and kept it dry. The sleeping bag market generates billions of dollars annually. Every proprietary, synthetic, or down-filled mummy bag sold depends on the consumer believing that surviving a cold night requires expensive, factory-produced insulation. A survival skills instructor who teaches the debris and Mylar thermal trap is teaching absolute self-sufficiency. A gear company that sells a heavy, delicate sleeping bag is selling dependency. The commercial outdoor industry is built entirely on the second model. Every sponsored wilderness packing list published by a retailer includes a massive sleeping bag as the most critical and expensive mandatory item. A man who can sleep comfortably in freezing temperatures using a pocket-sized $2 blanket and the natural debris on the forest floor does not need to buy expensive sleeping bags, does not need to carry their dead weight, and does not need to panic when his gear gets soaked in a river crossing. That man is not a sleeping bag customer, and a man who is not a customer is a threat to the industry that sells the product he no longer needs. Mylar blankets are sold as emergency use only items, because if you realize they could be your primary shelter, the sleeping bag industry would collapse overnight. In a market driven by gear anxiety, cheap, functional knowledge is heavily suppressed. Here's the complete $2 sleep system technique. You can practice this today in your backyard or on your next camping trip. Step 1. The conduction barrier, the mattress. Never lay directly on the ground. Gather dry leaves, pine needles, or dead grass. Pile it high. So when you lay on it, it will compress. You need the compressed thickness to be at least 8 to 10 inches to fully insulate you from the frozen earth. This takes 10 minutes to build and completely replaces the bottom half of a sleeping bag. Step 2. The $2 core. Open your Mylar emergency blanket. Do not just lay it over you like a sheet. That allows drafts. You must completely trap the heat. Lay the blanket flat over your leaf mattress. Step 3. The taco wrap. Lay in the exact center of the Mylar blanket. Fold the bottom edge up over your feet, tucking it under your heels. Fold the left side completely over your body, tucking the edge under your right side. Then fold the right side over, tucking it under your left side. You are now inside a sealed, highly reflective thermal tube. Your radiant heat has nowhere to go but directly back into your body. Step 4. The convection shield, the top quilt. Mylar stops radiant heat, but if cold wind hits the thin plastic, it will cool the air right next to your body. You need a buffer. Pile another 6 to 8 inches of dry leaves or light debris directly on top of the Mylar blanket. Alternatively, lay your regular jacket or a cheap tarp over the Mylar. The moisture warning. Because Mylar is perfectly waterproof, it traps sweat. If you overdress inside the blanket, you will sweat and the moisture will eventually make you cold. Strip down to your base layer before wrapping up. Let the reflected heat do the work, not heavy clothing. The system weighs 2 ounces. It fits in your shirt pocket, and it will keep you alive and warm in temperatures that would send a man with a cheap summer sleeping bag to the hospital. 2 million years ago, human beings survived ice ages using the dead airspace trapped inside piles of natural debris. In 1964, we built spacecraft using microthin aluminum to bounce thermal radiation back to its source. It is not an exaggeration to say that combining these two principles is the ultimate expression of human survival intelligence. The modern outdoorsman carries a massive, expensive sleeping bag from the store into the woods, completely blind to the fact that he is walking over thousands of pounds of superior natural insulation with every step he takes. The factory sleeping bag can tear, it can soak through, and it can permanently lose its loft. The forest floor and a pocket-sized thermal mirror will not fail you. Billions of dollars in annual outdoor gear revenue depends on you believing that warmth must be purchased in a massive nylon sack. Depends on you packing heavy gear into your bag instead of packing the $2 tool and the 5-minute skill that produces a thermal fortress from the nearest pile of leaves. The insulation is resting right now, outside your door, under every tree, along every trail. The knowledge is here. Subscribe and share this video. Every share reaches a man who will walk lighter and sleep warmer in the field because of it. Every subscription keeps this channel opening the vaults the gear industry thought were sealed forever. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside will change how you look at the rusty chains in your garage and the $3 liquid that stops rust permanently at the molecular level.